Welcome to This Explainer, where we take complex, life-changing ideas and break them right down so you can actually use them in the real world. Today, we've got a massive topic on our hands. We are completely demystifying wealth building using the foundational principles from Robert Kiyosaki's legendary Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Look, if you've ever felt like you're working incredibly hard, but your bank account somehow just isn't reflecting it, you are exactly where you need to be. We're going to use some really powerful visual tools today to completely rewire how you think about money. So, let me challenge you right out of the gate with a quick story from the source text about two guys, Bill and Ed. Now, Ed worked hard. He was physically hauling buckets of water every single day just to make his living. It was exhausting, back-breaking work. But Bill spent his time a little differently. Instead of hauling buckets, he built a pipeline. Eventually, Bill's pipeline did the actual work for him, while Ed ended up struggling with financial problems forever after. So ask yourself right now, are you just endlessly hauling buckets and working hard, or are you actually working smart to build a pipeline? Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with escaping the rat race, then explore a tale of two mindsets. From there, we cover assets versus liabilities, the three types of income, and finally, taking action for your future. Let's dive right in. Section 1. Escaping the rat race and the illusion of the safe job. You know that feeling of sheer frustration because you're working endlessly but never actually seem to get ahead? Yeah, it's not because you aren't working hard enough. It's because you might actually be caught in a cycle you didn't even realize you signed up for. The source text defines the rat race perfectly. It happens when people allow the awesome power of money to completely control them. People wake up, go to work, pay bills, and repeat. Think about it. Someone gets a great promotion, right? And what do? Boom, they immediately use that extra money to finance a brand new, incredibly expensive car. They conform to mantras like get a safe job and buy nice things, rather than stopping to question if what they're doing actually makes sense for their own financial freedom. Moving on to Section 2, a tale of two mindsets, focusing on the power of your words. Okay, so financial literacy, it doesn't actually start in your wallet. It starts entirely in your mind. Notice the stark contrast between these two phrases. The poor dad would simply state, I can't afford it. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is that the very moment you say that, your brain simply shuts down. It clocks out. It stops working. But the rich dad taught a radically different approach. Ask, how can I afford it? That one simple shift literally changes everything. It forces your brain to go to work, opening up excitement, new possibilities, and big dreams. It turns a dead-end roadblock into a puzzle that's just begging to be solved. And, this mindset completely spills over into how they viewed their own identities. The poor dad often said, I'll never be rich, and, well, that self-fulfilling prophecy became his reality. But the rich dad maintained his wealthy mindset even when he suffered a major financial setback and was flat broke. He understood a really profound truth. There is a major, fundamental difference between being poor and being broke. Broke is temporary, right? But poor is eternal. Section 3, assets versus liabilities. This is the golden rule of wealth. Let's utilize the KISS principle here. Keep it super simple. And just strip away all the confusing accounting jargon for a minute. Here is the definition of an asset. Something that puts money in your pocket. That's it. It sounds absurdly simple, doesn't it? But honestly, illiteracy in this one basic concept is the very foundation of financial struggle for millions and millions of people. Now, what's really interesting about this cash flow pattern is the clear visual path it takes. You've got your income statement up on top and your balance sheet on the bottom. The wealthy simply acquire assets, and as the arrow beautifully shows us, the money moves straight from that asset column right up into the income column. The money just goes right into your pocket. Contrast that with a liability. A liability is exactly the opposite. It's something that takes money out of your pocket. Think massive credit card debt for designer clothes, or those really high-interest car loans. The text notes that poor and middle-class people constantly struggle because they spend their entire lives acquiring these liabilities, all the while mistakenly thinking they're actually acquiring assets. Just trace the visual path of the cash flow right here. When you buy a liability, the money drains straight out of your balance sheet and goes directly into the expense column. It's basically a permanent outgoing tide for your hard-earned cash. Which leads us to one of the most surprising and definitely most controversial facts from the source material. Your house is not always an asset. Seriously, if you buy a bigger, flashier house, it can actually be a massive liability. because it's actively taking money out of your pocket every single month in maintenance, taxes, and a hefty mortgage. A bigger house costs you time, it costs you additional capital that could have been invested elsewhere, and it costs you the loss of critical investment education. So how do the wealthy actually operate? Well, notice how incredibly active their asset column is. They focus practically all their energy right here. They build their asset column with real estate, stocks, bonds, and intellectual property. And all of those assets generate rental income, dividends, interest, and royalties. They build the assets up first, and then the income generated from those assets pays for their luxuries. All right, Section 4, the 3 types of income, building your blueprint. Because the wealthy absolutely know that not all money is created equal. As we go through these, I want you to ask yourself, which type of income are you currently working for? Number 1 is ordinary earned income. That's the money you trade your valuable time for at your 9-to-5 job. Number 2 is portfolio income, which comes from paper assets, like stocks. And number 3 is passive income, typically generated from real estate or an automated business. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that taxes are historically the highest on your ordinary earned income and the lowest on passive income. The wealthy don't just want more income, they want the right type of income. This concept is expanded further in the famous ESBI cash flow quadrant. The E stands for employee, and the S stands for self-employed. These are over on the left side, which is where the vast majority of people operate, trading their time for earned income. But true wealth and ultimate freedom, that's found on the right side. B for business owner and I for investor. On the right side, you're making the massive shift from trading your time to having your systems and your money do all the heavy lifting for you. Which brings us to Section 5, taking action for your future, the ultimate choice. Look, all this amazing financial literacy is completely useless if it just stays locked up in your head. You have to make deliberate choices, and you have to start today. The source material gives us a very clear, highly actionable step-by-step strategy. Step 1, keep your day job and be a great, hardworking employee to generate that earned income. But Step 2, use that money to relentlessly buy assets. Step 3, the ultimate goal is converting your earned income into passive and portfolio income. You are building up that asset column until it can entirely replace the income from your job. You need to mind your own business. And by that, the text means keeping your asset column incredibly strong. Think about it this way. The very second a dollar goes into your asset column, it literally becomes your employee. And it's the best employee ever. It doesn't sleep, it doesn't take vacations, and it can literally work for generations. Your money should be working vastly harder for you than you work for it. I want to leave you with this incredibly powerful, thought-provoking quote from the text. Every day, with every dollar, you decide to be rich, poor, or middle class. It is entirely in your hands. You have the ultimate power of choice. So the next time a dollar enters your hand, which future are you going to choose to fund? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Now get out there and start building your pipeline.